Hello, and welcome back
Hello.
to another fun-filled episode of the Hammercast. Now, you may have heard another voice in there, and that is for good reason. I'm here with Lena Eveby. She has done a number of my programs, and she's gotten some very nice results from them. And so I wanted to have her on the show to talk about some of the transformations that she has gone through. So that is exactly what we are going to do. She is from a land you may have heard of called Sweden, and this is her first podcast, I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, but fortunately, Swedish people are known to speak exceptionally good English, and the little bit of a conversation we have had before the show has begun, I think, bears that out. So your English is definitely better than my Swedish, which consists of greetings for the morning and the afternoon, and that's about it. So
Yeah. So my standards are not so high then in
no, well, at
comparison
least
to
not
your
for an American
Swedish.
attempting Swedish. No, not at all. Well, first and foremost, thank you for being on the show. And now I'm curious about your training background in particular. So let's look at it like the Marvel comic heroes all have these origin stories. So what's your origin story? Like how did you get into physical fitness, physical activity? Was it always something that played a large role in your life? Something
Oh
that
God, no.
no, really.
This no, this was not my thing at all as a kid. I preferred staying inside, reading books or playing karma games, stuff like that. I did not like PE in school at all. I was the kid that was last picked on anything. I was always skinny, really weak. So of course, if you're not really good at it, you don't really do it.
Hmm.
Um, I guess it's like a vicious circle, and I really did not like group activity sports. It was just not my thing at all. So maybe I was like 15. I started enjoying running by myself, like in the woods, listening to music. And then I started doing that a bit more. And it was around this point I started having some health problems. Um, it turns out I have permanent nerve damage in the right side of my body. And this has caused my thumb. I can show you, but I can't
Hmm.
show anyone listening. I don't have this big part in my muscle, in my thumb. So that one is missing. And of course, this has caused a little bit of problems in doing activities, but also like riding and stuff because I'm right-handed. So I dropped things a lot, and I've had some surgeries. I also only have one functioning kidney. I have high blood pressure. I have migraines. So I've always been told don't do strength training, do calmer activities. But that's not fun at all. So I just ignored that and I did my own thing. Um, and eventually, when I was around 30, I got into strength training, and that changed everything for me.
For the better, I assume.
For the better, yes, very
It's
much so.
I have to say it's very interesting because your origin story in many ways is somewhat similar to mine because when I was a kid, I did like physical activity, but it was again more like unstructured kind of stuff, like playing outside, with friends and playing games and stuff like that. But I hated team sports in school. Always got
Mm,
picked last. And interestingly enough, I think, like a lot of people, my first introduction to like self-guided fitness was also running. And I think I was in high school around that time. Now we didn't really have woods to run through, but we had like walking trails and stuff like that to run on. So it's very interesting to see all the parallels. Um, and then another parallel that is interesting is being told one thing by your doctor and doing the opposite, like being told, strength training is going to be a little too strenuous, you should avoid it. Now, I never had that happen to me, but that is a very common thing that a lot of doctors will give as recommendations, and it's just you know purely out of like what little that they actually know about physical
yeah,
fitness,
because
sort
that's
of.
it. They don't know, and they
Yeah,
don't do usually any strength training by themselves either.
yeah.
Uh, so I guess you have to take everything. Uh, you can listen a little bit to what they're saying, but also try it out. and it worked a lot for me. And I think also it has changed so much, like in the gyms, the last maybe 20 years. Usually a lot of women, we just did cardio because that's how you got slim and fit. And now that's changed. You see women strength training everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So that's really positive.
I think is an excellent change because, you know, we've all got this is always my take on it is like men and women have the same bodies. Now, obviously, we have differences between the two, but we've got 2 arms, 2 legs, we've got a trunk, we've got all the same things. So we should be able to do all the same movements. This is kind of why it makes me laugh when I hear stuff like, you know, like certain strength training regimen for women, or a certain, you know, like workout program for women or for men or whatever. It's like, you know, all the same moves are going to be effective, like regardless. So there's really no reason to say, oh, these exercises or this approach is for women and this approach is for men. It just seems like an attempt at, you know, at trying to separate us when there really is no actual separation. So yeah, I've noticed the exact same thing. There seems to be a lot more interest in strength training among women. Cardio is still very important, but it's great to see that women are out there lifting, getting strong, and of course, you know, it brings a lot of confidence with it as well. Like, what are some of the other changes? Obviously, you know, I would assume your blood pressure probably got a little bit better. Maybe some of the other physical issues that you'd experienced started to improve. Like, what are some of the general improvements you started to see?
Well, I went from not being able to like do one push-up. I couldn't do 1 second dead hang. I could do nothing with my right hand, basically. I couldn't do weightless squat. I couldn't do anything. I was really like not mobile at all, and really, really weak. But when I started training, I could actually eventually even do one pull-up. But that took me a whole year of training, but of course it was worth it. And I think because the doctor has said you cannot do anything that's really difficult, of course, all the other muscles also got weaker and weaker because I just gave up basically. But then I started training a lot. Basically only strength training and definitely with kettlebells a lot. And that changed everything.
Now, when did you discover kettlebell training? Because I know that in the US, kettlebells kind of like reared their head once again. It was around 20 years ago or so, but even then it still wasn't very popular. When did it get to Sweden, and when did you start to, you know, lift them and become a convert?
I met this guy back in 2008. That's now my husband. I went to his dorm room and he was training when I arrived, and he was like, I'm just gonna finish my workout. And I was like, this is so weird, because he basically had no furniture. He had like a rack of weights, and he had this really weird black things called kettlebells, and he was swinging them around. He was doing pistols with them. And I was like, this is so weird. No one does this. And I think he basically was one of the first to start with this because back in 2008, you couldn't even buy them. He bought them from some guy who had a garage gym in Stockholm, and he couldn't even get them shipped. So that dude drove them to his dorm room.
Wow.
And he had a lot of books by Pavel. So I just started reading them and was like, I'm gonna do this as well. And back then I couldn't even lift a 16K kettlebell. That was too heavy. So that's what I started with, a 16K kettlebell. Of course it was too heavy, but that's the only option I had.
Yeah, you probably didn't have like the luxurious, you know, rack of kettlebells and, you know, go from
No.
48 kilos. There's nothing like that.
No, exactly. No, didn't exist. And now we can buy them at our local grocery store.
Yeah, that's another funny parallel because likewise, you know, I discovered them in 2008. Now I had more furniture I must say, that it sounds like your boyfriend and now husband had at the time. But yeah, there was like one store in town. It was a sports store that sold them. And now, like you said, you can go to the grocery store.
Yeah,
If you're in the
it's
US, you can
everywhere.
go to Walmart and you can find kettlebells.
Yeah.
It's a complete difference. Now, what were some of the things that you started to notice when you were lifting kettlebells? You're starting to feel a bit stronger. Was it, just like a greater sense of ability throughout the day? Was it like more
Yeah, it
muscularity?
was everything. Uh, of course, now I usually, of course, I train because I love it. I think it's really fun.
Mhm.
It's really satisfactory to get stronger, but also aesthetically, stuff started to happen. I could see that I started getting muscles, and you don't get big like you think you would get big. But
Mhm.
also everything, if food tastes better, everything, life's just become more fun. And I also noticed because what I liked about running was getting runner's high, and I feel that I can get that with the cardio effect from kettlebell training that I
Mhm.
really did not get just by lifting weights like deadlifts and stuff. It's not the same, but with kettlebells you get the cardio as well, and that I
That,
really enjoyed.
that's a good point. Yeah, you get that, especially when you've done like a whole bunch of swings or a whole bunch of snatches. When you're done, you feel like you've really accomplished something. Like you've just done this
Yeah,
mountain of work.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a great feeling.
absolutely. Did your husband ever go through like RKC or SFG or anything like that?
No, never.
But he's still
I
an
have.
avid kettlebell lifter, I would presume.
No, I think I am more than
Really?
him. Yeah, yeah.
Does he ever come to you for advice?
He's
Like, hey, honey, how do you do this?
no, no, not really. But he has mainly stayed. He does some at home, but he's more of a. He needs to go to the gym, and he prefers to do more strength training, uh, like deadlifts and stuff like that.
Gotcha. That's very fascinating. Well, it's great to hear that you've kept up with it after all these years. And I assume now you've probably got like this family of kettlebells that you can choose
I
from.
have, yes.
Yeah. Now, are you swinging like the 48 or are you, doing anything with the really
Uh,
heavy stuff?
I have a 40K bell. That's the heaviest I got, and I can swing it. Yes.
Very nice.
But now I'm really into the pressing program, so I'm not swinging as much at
Yes.
the
Yeah.
moment.
Right. But there are a lot of clean. You're doing the giant, right? By Jeff.
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
you're
Mm,
doing plenty of cleans. I feel like that's probably going to take care of a lot of
I
a
think
lot
so,
of the
yes.
ballistic stuff. Yeah.
Mm,
Now, at one point or another, you came across my material, and I'm curious about this because I actually don't even know the story. Like, how did you find my approach? What interested you in it? And like, what are some of my programs or challenges that you've done?
yeah, I think I found you from the convict conditioning group on
Oh, okay.
Facebook.
Hmm.
Yeah, uh, you posted a lot. And I joined your group, and I like your approach to training. I like your um, it's a nice group. Everyone is really friendly. You can ask everyone for advice. You are always giving a lot of advice. Um, and I just like the atmosphere that you and the whole group can provide. And I think it's a very um, good atmosphere to be in. And especially if you train by yourself, like I always do. I don't have like a gym partner or anything. So I think it's nice to be in community and you can help each other out in that way.
I love to hear that because that was exactly my intent when I put together the group was have something that people who maybe their families kind of like you or when you met your now husband in the dorm and he's swinging this kettlebell like you can't really cheer him on, you don't even know what he's doing, like you
Mm,
have no understanding. And I think that's the case for a lot of people is that their family is like, okay, we don't really know what this kettlebell and body weight thing is, but so
mm,
it's good to have a supportive community that wants to cheer you on and give you like pointers and tips and stuff like that. And the fact that the people in there are exclusively ladies and gentlemen and, not arguing with each other and, causing fights. That's definitely a
Yeah,
nice.
it's very friendly. And also if you train by yourself and perhaps you have a busy schedule, you have work, family, you have to squeeze in a little, just a little workout now and then, you need it to be effective, and your programs are very effective. And also in the beginning, if you're new, it's very difficult to know, you don't know what you're doing. But in the beginning, it's also very easy to get results quickly. But after a few years, you start to hit the plateaus. You need help to get forward. And a program really helps with that.
Definitely.
So for years, some years, I've been training myself, coming up with my own programs. But my problem is I have a tendency to chase all the rabbits at once. So I start a program and then I start another program and I just keep doing too many programs at once. And then, of course, I get fatigued and hit plateaus.
Sure.
So it's easy to have some ideas on what you want and then talk about it with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a
You can
better
figure out,
plan.
yeah, and you figure out how to chase just one rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what are some of my programs that you've done, and like what were some of the results that you saw from them?
I think the first program I did was the Halloween program.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And that really helped me with overall strength and the mobility. It was a lot of hollow position dead bugs. And I really needed to level up my core game after having 2 kids. And that helped a lot.
Very nice.
But it was a lot of windshield wipers that were horrible, but very effective.
Yeah, those are horrible even for me. I mean, I can do plenty of them, but it definitely feels like a lot more work than a number of the other core drills out there.
And then I've also done the superior posterior. And that program was really good because then I understood that in order to press a lot, I need a little bit more booty. Yeah. So that helped me a lot with both my pressing and my get-ups.
You know, I actually remember seeing a post from you where you mentioned that your pull-up even improved, I think, on superior posterior.
Yes. Yeah,
a lot of people forget.
So that helped.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I think is interesting about training and why it's so helpful to have, multiple movements in there that, because again, the tendency is to do as little as possible. And you can do that for a while, but overall, you definitely need to make sure that you're, hitting all your bases, and glute strength can have a big impact, like you noticed, on upper body strength. So like your presses improve, pull-ups improve, and everybody likes having a nice looking derriere anyway. So
yes.
I feel like it's like
it
three
hurt.
things in one. Yeah, no, definitely not. Now, okay, so you've done Halloween, superior posterior, and right now you're working on Kung Fu grip.
Oh, I've done, but I've done the Hungary program, and the results from that was insane for me, having such a weak hand. I went from, in the beginning, I could do 45-second hangs, but at the end, I could hang in for 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Wow.
And I could do one hand as a single hand hang with my bad hand for 30 seconds.
That's amazing.
So that helped me a lot with my pull-ups. And then I've done the crawl program. I usually do crawls in my warm-up routine nowadays because I think it's so effective. Such an effective movement. And I usually do your dead bugs program as well. And now I'm on the Kung Fu grip program, and I'm really liking it.
Now, and you'd mentioned too, because you've got I think you said it was your right hand has an atrophied thumb muscle. And because some of the stuff that's in Kung Fu grip is, let's say, like pinch gripping, how are you finding that is helping with your hand strength? I know it's only been a couple of workouts at this point, but how are you finding the hand strength is keeping up or increasing?
Yeah, for me, I think to include that in like my warm-up routine it really helps me to sort of wake up the other muscles. Of course, I can't. I will never get this thumb muscle back, but I can always increase the other muscles. So when I do that, I really noticed that I got a lot more pressing strength. So I'm really enjoying this program, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it through and see how much it will help in my pressing, but also in my pull-ups.
Yeah, likewise. I think that this is one of those things that everybody understands they need a strong grip, but it's rare that people will go out of their way to do grip specific stuff. So, hanging is an excellent way to do it. So there's no question, for instance, that you hang and you get really good at that, your grip strength will improve. But there are, in just the same way, there are different like moves for the upper body or for the lower body. You have to have kind of a wider array of them to truly develop the hands and the forearms. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to hearing how that goes. You said you already noticed your presses felt a bit easier when you started.
Yes, immediately. So that was, I was not expecting that, because I was doing my regular press program now, and I had to look at the weights because they felt so easy. I thought I'd mistakenly taking 2 8s instead of 2 12s.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, that was a good feeling.
But do you ever do anything cool, like, like pressing your kids, or like, see, sometimes people will do Turkish get-ups with their kids.
They're too big.
They're too big. Ah,
but I could do pull-ups with them when they were babies.
Of course, yeah. How old are they now? They're
8 and 11.
So okay, so yeah, they're getting to that age where it's going to be a little harder to do calisthenics with them. Maybe push-ups with them on your back.
The plank works.
Plank, absolutely. Are they getting into calisthenics now that they see mom doing, these kettlebells?
They want to get bigger muscles. They want to have more biceps.
Good, of course. That's the natural thing for any kid. They want to have big arms and what have you. Now, are they interested in physical activity, or are they kind of like you and they're like, I'd rather sit inside, read a book, but I want the aesthetics of like the biceps?
One of them does table tennis. So more, they're not really into soccer and stuff like that. They're more like free play outside. So I think they more like, as long as they just go out and play, that's fine by me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially because when they're so young, they just need all these different types of movements to really develop. So, and you play outside, you're going to get running, jumping, rolling, climbing.
Yeah, exactly.
Soccer, you don't really get that.
And I think that's one of the other good things when you train with kettlebells, or especially when you train at home, that kids actually see that you work out. So that's not just a thing that I do at another place that they don't see me. So that you become a good role model in that way, that as an adult you have to take the time to exercise and to keep your health.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's one of the drawbacks. And I like gyms, I think gym culture is great, but that is one of the drawbacks, is you generally don't bring your kids, so they don't see what you're doing. It's very helpful if they can actually see that you're carving out time in your schedule to work out. My parents always did that, and they never told me I had to, but I kind of just internalized, what, this is something you just do, you find the time to do it. My mom used to get up at like 4 a.m. every morning, and she would get in some exercise. And there, on the rare occasion that I was up, maybe let's say like 5, she was still exercising, and I'd walk downstairs, to get a bowl of cereal or something like that. And she was busy working out. And I think that does make an impression on the kids. Have they started lifting the kettlebells? Or are you going to wait until they're a little bit older before you?
Oh, no, they're allowed to. And sometimes they join in.
Nice.
Yeah. They're always allowed to join in. Yeah.
Doing snatches and double kettlebell clean and jerks and all those advanced. I would imagine. Now, in addition to like the actual strength side of things, you talked about some very cool improvements you made, like, and from hanging and hanguary, crawl-a-days. I remember actually one of your posts on crawl-a-days, you said you had a 6-pack. It was like 14 days in, and you'd gotten very lean doing just all the daily crawling, which I thought was very cool. But what are some, like, let's say non-fitness or non-exercise related improvements to your day-to-day life that you've noticed from doing these programs?
I would say always you get better mental health when you take care of yourself. When you work out a lot, you usually think a little bit more about your diet. You sleep better. I think you get better self-esteem. It's very empowering when you reach your goals and you get other goals that you try to reach. Um, when you train a lot, I think you get higher discipline because you see that you actually get the results, and that is applicable in other areas in your life, maybe in your work or other things you want to improve about yourself. So I think it's a physical thing that you do, but it always transpires in the other areas in your life that you want to become better at.
I think people forget that. That's very true because, and I've read this elsewhere. I've read, if you want to conquer the mental side of things, like your mindset, your willpower, your discipline, best place to start is with the physical side of things, because you kind of get like a tangible view of what the results are of, let's say, sticking to a schedule or whatever, because you can then look, let's say 30 days later, you can look in a mirror and you can see differences, or you can test yourself and you can see differences. And then it's easy to intuit, okay, well, if I can do this physically, then I can certainly do this with, this, project at work, or, wanting to improve my education, or, get a better job, or whatever it may be. So and it's one of the benefits of training that I don't think it's talked about enough, because most people just think about before and after picture. They don't think about all the stuff that you're now more capable of doing in that after picture.
Yeah, but that's also something that you hear a lot when you say, "Oh, I like to work out," but you don't need to. You're slim.
Yeah,
but it's not about that. Not at all, actually.
yeah. Well, and even if that's exactly right. It's not
For some
necessarily.
people, maybe it is, and of course that's fine. But that's not all you get from training.
Exactly. Well,
It's
and the
just a
other thing,
little part.
well, you also see too that some people are like, okay, now I've reached my goal. I have a friend who does like these like 3-month body transformation protocols through organization that kind of like has pioneered like a very effective way of doing it. And he said he'll have people come through, get great results, look way better 3 months later, and then they just stop doing everything. And then they might come back after another 3 months and they're like, yeah, I've really gotten out of shape. I fell back into my old bad habits. I need to do it again. So, they'll fork over all this money again to just get back to where they would have been if they had just kept up a modicum of what they had done. So yeah, a lot of people have that mindset. Oh, I'm slim now, I'm fit, I can do X, Y, and Z, so I don't need to work as hard. But if you apply that mentality to your work, like, okay, well, I'm now at this, this salary, so I don't need to work as hard. Your boss will probably have a very different opinion about that. Or if you're self-employed,
exactly.
your clients will have a very different opinion of that. So I couldn't agree more. There's a lot more to training than just, I got a runner's high, or I got like a good feeling after the workout, or now I look nice, so I can, go crazy and eat all this birthday cake, or, whatever the case may be. Now, before we sign off, because I know that you've got motherly duties to attend to, you got to pick up one of the little ones at school, and I want to make sure I give you ample time so the kids are not like, what you're just talking about exercise and you pick this up late or what have you. If you want people to follow you online, where can they follow you? Your training and your interesting taste in heavy metal music.
Yeah. Well, I keep like a training journal on Instagram, and I usually post some of the music that I listen to. It's nothing fancy or anything, but if anyone wants to say hello, they can do that at Lina _ DME.
DME, very good.
DME.
What kind of heavy metal music can they expect? The Swedes are known for very extreme heavy metal.
Yeah, I really like black metal and death metal. But
You know, in
I
America,
listen to a lot of music, but a lot of black metal. Yeah.
in America, if you say that you like black metal and death metal, usually you don't even have to say it. You can just see, you know, like, okay, you know, person's wearing like a, I don't know, Amon Amarth t-shirt or, you know, Deicide shirt or something like that. And they look like a metalhead. And in Sweden, I've noticed it's not necessarily the case. It's like people who look, you know, otherwise like regular everyday people be like, oh yeah, I love black metal or death metal. Yeah, you guys are that hardcore that you can look completely normal and still listen to this hardcore music. In America, if you listen to that kind of stuff, it's like it has to show on the outside because people who dress, you know, again, like just in everyday clothes in the US, they're not typically, you know, the I don't know, fans of like Meshuggah or Deicide. I'm one example that's different because actually I love Deicide, for instance, but I
Yeah,
think
who
at least their
doesn't?
early stuff is really good. I haven't heard any of
Yeah,
their
agree.
new but all right, well, cool. I definitely recommend that people follow you, Lena_DME on
Yeah.
Instagram. She's got some very good videos. And again, if you like heavy metal music, you will also appreciate the musical montage that she's got going
Yeah,
on.
find some new bands perhaps.
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean, if you do, I'm sure Sweden has a surplus of them. So I'm sure that there's you don't have to worry about, you know, finding, I don't know, like let's say softer, quote unquote, softer rock like Boston or
No,
no. That's a little hard to work out to, I feel like. You know, that's like
that's a
that's
little
more like
bit too
relaxing.
sleepy.
What's
Yeah,
that?
that's more sleeping music maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah,
need to go to bed, you put on some Boston and then just
some relaxing.
exactly with some nice chamomile tea or what have you. So now before we wrap up, for those who are listening for the first time, perhaps to hear their friend Lena on here, I want to recommend that if you haven't already, you get my 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge. Lena, I don't know if you've got that or not because I think you joined before I
Yes,
released it. You do
yes,
have
I
it.
have. Yeah,
How do
excellent.
you like it?
I like it a lot. I did it a lot when I had extremely little time to work out, but you always have 9 minutes.
Yes,
So
exactly. And that
that's
was
a
kind of
really good no excuse program. You have to do it.
Well, the other nice thing too is that the movements in there are very simple to learn. So that's not anything really complicated. It's just movements based around the gait pattern or your walking pattern. So stuff that you can learn in minutes. It's not going to take hours or days or weeks or anything like that. And you can just pick it up and have at it. And so if anybody wants to get their hands on it, all you need is a kettlebell or two and a little bit of space on the ground, and you'll be off to the races. And you go to 9minutechallenge.com. That's the number 9minutechallenge.com, and you can get a free copy of it. So go there, check that out. I think you will enjoy it. Well, Lena, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And hopefully you will be on many more podcasts talking about your very cool transformations in the near future.
I don't know about that, but I've had a really nice time
Good.
talking with you.
I'm very happy to hear that. And folks, thank you for tuning in. And as always, have fun and happy training.